Peace, peace, peace. This is James T. Ma'ara with Ma'ara Studios. Back again for another one, another joint, right, Shep?
Absolutely.
Man, we love doing this. Our job, what we came here to do is to help our people out, our brothers and sisters. We're going to go ahead and start right now with a libation ceremony by Shep Shura. Shep, well, before you do it, tell them who you are, brother.
My name is Shep Shura. I'm an author, self-published author, pen name Scribe, XRIBE. I have an online bookstore for those interested, secondresurrection.com. There's also a blog section attached to it as well, so feel free to log in, chime in, debate, whatever you do best. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and put the libations.
Peace. Go ahead, brother.
All right. Anit ra'ek yitmut netir, aite emak pa'ut netiru. 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 Itayam aku, itayam amaku, itayam abtetu, itayam sebaiyu, itayam shepsu, itayam meru, itayam tepiu. I honor all divine beings who walk with me. May we remain together, one mind, one body, one soul towards one harmonious goal. I'm in my arts.
Peace, 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 peace. Thank you. We got a special guest today, Asha Sims, owner of Ashakti Wellness. How you say it, sister? Ashakti Wellness. But before we get into this, listen, you guys got a real treat coming up. You're going to like this. Before we get into it, you know it's got to go down. I got to tell you who I feel about my people. First of all, because we got Asha in, I got to honor Dr. Francis Quest Welting. Peace. No doubt. The ISIS papers, what?
Absolutely.
Come on, everybody need that.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter's getting ready to go to college here in North Carolina Central. She need that. We need that. So, I got to go pay homage to other brothers and sisters, dead and alive. I'm going to go with Noble Drew Ali.
There we go.
Right?
North Carolina's own.
Was he North Carolina?
He's from North Carolina. Absolutely.
What?
Cherokee.
I just, off the subject, but I just found out George Clinton was from Kannapolis.
Yes.
Yeah.
That messed me up, yo.
Let's see. George Clinton, he's from Montclair, from what I know. That's close to my hometown.
Was he a 5%er like you?
Nah.
But he talked a lot of that.
Well,
He talked a lot of 120. He talked real, bro.
Each one teach one.
All right, okay. Here we go. Marcus Garvey, what?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, these dead living in life. Polite,
Yes.
Young Pharaoh, Professor Griff, my goodness. Stokely Carmichael.
Kwame Ture.
Who is that?
Stokely Carmichael.
Same person. So, guys, listen, this is our way of, just paying homage to our brothers and sisters. We're going to go right in, to this, because this right here is going to be something special. It's going to be about, mental health, emotional health, wellness. It's going to be about so many things, but I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic before we start with questions to Asha. Asha, tell us who you are, sister.
All right. Well, thank you for having me here today. My name is Asha Sims. I am North Carolina native, coming from Winston-Salem. Been in Charlotte for a while now. My background, I am a licensed mental health therapist, holistic wellness practitioner. And a lot of my professional services that I do, I work with women, trauma, not just women, but families that have experienced different traumas. I incorporate holistic modalities in conjunction with psychotherapy, not just dealing with the mind, but we have to deal with the body. We have to deal with the spirit. I'm a Reiki master.
Wow. Now, you got to go in on what that is, because a lot of us out there are unlettered to that, but go ahead, continue.
Yoga teacher. I'm a yogi.
Mm-hmm.
And so within that, I just try to incorporate a variety of modalities and more or less of doing some of the teachings that often are not seen as what they say Black people do. And so I wanted to be that face for the people to know more about alternative healing modalities besides the traditional Western approaches, and be that face to say, it's okay, you can do it.
Peace,
well.
peace.
So,
that's good. So, in your travels,
yes.
what have you found that really works with the mindset that we have been stuck with here, the Anglo-Saxon mindset, European thinking? What it's been, there's just I just want to start with this, Chef. Before we go into questions,
Okay, go ahead. Do you?
what has worked to get us to the other side, the right side? What has worked?
I think it's a combination of what I'm saying, and one, it's time for healing. You know, I think the ancestors are talking. So what I'm finding in my field are many people are coming to me and they're needing a different way of healing. They're awakening, and so many do not understand what this is, and so it may come in the forms of anxiety and depression, because it's like they have this edge. And so when I begin to talk to them, it's finding that connection to their ancestors, understanding what their spiritual gifts are, because from what I've seen, that if we don't awaken and enhance what is in us, that's what's going to really cause mental health issues. Many of the diagnoses that are given are just labels for insurance billing to put you in a category. But at the end of the day, if we don't really deal with our truths and understand what's going on and going within, then yeah, it's going to cause more psychosis. It's going to cause more of the anxiety and depression, because we're not stepping into it. So I think that's why we have to come up with new ways of healing modalities to heal. We're not the same beings of people when a lot of these theories that first started in the 1800s.
Good point. That's a good point, Chef, right there.
Yeah, we're different. Our DNA structure is totally different. So we have to have new healers to adapt to the new vibration and frequency that we are now.
Peace. Let's go. What kind of questions we got for us, Chef? Answer some questions.
Well, you mentioned in your introduction that you're a Reiki master.
Yes.
Can you explain what exactly Reiki is and what it does, the
Yes.
benefits?
Is he pronouncing it correctly,
Yes,
sister?
Reiki. Yes, that's
Reiki.
correct.
All
Yes.
right, you pronounced it right. I thought it wasn't going to work out for you today, but you got it. Let's go.
Yes.
Okay.
Reiki is a form of energy healing. It is a Japanese form of healing to help heal on the mental level, the spiritual level, all aspects to promote healing, and also spiritual enlightenment as well, because it allows you to become clear. Reiki is basically universal life force energy. We all have energy flowing through us. So even in becoming a Reiki practitioner, it's not anything that you're any special than anybody else, because we all have life force that flows through us. What Reiki does is basically opens the portals for energy to flow through you, so you can be the healer that you are. Because in order to heal others, you have to be that clear vessel for the energy to flow.
So is that like
through
a
you.
conduit? We become a conduit.
That's exactly what
the
it is.
energy is flowing through successfully, maybe, in the right way, so that you can be that conduit for other people.
Others. Because when you become attuned, it clears your past karmic debt.
My God.
So in that process, you're not living for things from the past or past life experiences. You're a clear channel. So anything moving forward is really your consciousness and your accountability for how you want to move forward. So there's no more excuses. I say there's no more sitting on the wall of suffering. You're here to do your work. You're clear.
That's right.
So anything that you create in this space now is what's going to propel you in the future. So
talk a little bit about what you just said. That was deep when you said that about, clearing your karmatic debt.
Yes.
What could be like an example of someone's karmatic debt who's, awake consciousness, looking to grow, and then they become attuned, as it were?
On what occurs, on how that assists you in the growth?
Yes.
Wow, so many different ways. One, the best way that I can explain and how Reiki assisted me was it helped me tap into my inner truths, to my inner core. Many of us walk through life with the facades. We walk through with the past programming that's been given to us. So we really don't know who we are. So what Reiki does, I always say, it goes back to, in elementary school, you have the Elmer's glue and it dries up on your hand, you peel it off.
Yeah.
Reiki sessions is pulling off a lot of that junk that's stuck in your aura and those energetic cords of whether it's unfinished past life stuff, whether it's traumas or situations that have occurred early on in life that you have not resolved.
Yeah.
So it helps to break those cords and those bonds for you to move forward, and you're not walking like you got a backpack and like, what is this monkey on my back? I know it's changed, but many don't even know what it is, because if it's a past life, if you have not tapped into with that aspect of things, you really don't know what you still carrying or holding. And then what we know with generational trauma, a lot of this, and this has been helpful in a lot of my clients, I'm breaking a lot of that generational trauma, because many of us are here to clear that. That's what really, while we're stepping into this and awakening, is the shift. We're like the in-between.
Yeah,
so,
I like that shift.
Yeah, it's important.
If
what
you
we're
know
doing.
something,
Yeah.
if you conscious of something, it might be a bigger purpose than you
A
think.
bigger purpose.
Wow.
It's a universal shift. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go to the second question.
Absolutely.
He says, how do you, I let him write the question. How do you come to know Reiki?
Right, exactly.
Well, I always tell everybody, you don't come to know Reiki. Reiki comes to know you.
Okay.
It kind of finds you. And that's how it was for me. And most people that go through Reiki training, a lot of times they've gone through something in their life that shifted them. A lot of situations, whether it's loss of job, loss of homes, a certain illness or something, because that's the time, a lot of people get stuck in the hard times, but that's really when you grow. That's really, if you really centered with yourself, you want to know, how do I get past this? How do I change things? And that's when the universe will send you things to assist in your healing if you're open enough to receive it. So for me, it's weird. I always laugh about how I came. I think I was going through a rough time. I was in an abusive relationship, and so I was spending a lot of time by myself studying, and I came across the chakra systems. And I was like, wow, this is some interesting information about these energy centers and how different situations can cause them to be blocked. So in that course, I was like, well, how do you unblock them? And that's when I started reading about Reiki. So I had to say at first, when I read about it, I was kind of hesitant because I saw a lot of the Caucasians doing it. I'm like, what is this? I don't know if this is something I want to get into. I don't know about this. Mm-hmm. And so I came back around one day, and I was on my computer Googling, because now I want to know how I unblock these chakras. I don't want to walk around with blocked chakras.
Right.
And I Googled for Reiki instructions, and I came across my Reiki master, Tracy Green Douglas, who is now, she's out the country. She has a nice retreat, but a sister with the locks. She was a local artist. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it with her. And it changed my life. I would say to this day, the woman I am today, you can put it on my tombstone, is due to Reiki.
Wow. You hear that, man?
Yes. That's when I found myself immediately. It was like locking in. It's like I'm connected to the universe. So it's one of the things when all your chakra centers are clear and operating, you see the world in a whole different way, how you process stuff.
And I'm going to say that's true. And I'm going to say that's true because of some of the stuff I learned from you. I mean, tell them a little bit real quick, just a little bit real quick about once you get to that place. Like Asha has like caterpillars and animals following her around.
Yes,
she has like owls and stuff following her around the town. You know what I'm saying? So tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what can be expected when you get your attunement.
So much. One, I've had students actually lose weight after being attuned, because not understanding sometimes our weight is energetic blockages. So often when you get cleared energy-wise, your body can shift, because a lot of that weight may have been protective layers, for things that happen, or those
we speaking of trauma
or anything that it goes back, like you said, with the rice, the power of intention. So I always tell certain women or anybody that's trying to lose weight, if you eat that food, that sweet food, to make you feel good, or those times when you're angry, I want a good meal. Well, understand that's that meal that's gonna stick to your body because you set the intention. So those pounds, like, I'm not going anywhere because you needed this to make you feel good. So when you realize those attachments, when you release the energy that's attached to it, it can cause your weight to shift. So that's one thing, how people can shift. Some people go through healing crisis. Like the first level of Reiki is really more that physical shift. It's helping your body to shift to do promote healing. So I've had some students afterwards go through like a healing crisis where they feel like they have the flu. Depending on how toxic you are will depend on what the detox is like. And so some people have physical responses where they feel extremely tired or they feel like they have the flu. But afterwards, it's like when your cells have been regenerated in a whole different vibrational, you feel totally different. You see the world. It'll be certain situations that occur and you look back and think, in the past I would have handled it this way, but I handled it this way. And it's like, that's when you say, oh, I know I've healed, because you can see the shift on how you process things. But like you said, with the nature, and say I was never really I was a nature girl. I was like the only girl on my block and all brothers. So I did like to play outside, but wasn't still one that really liked to be out there with all the insects. But after being attuned, let me see, the insects, because I understand they operate off energy.
Frequency.
And frequency. They don't really have eyes and say, oh, I see you. They feel you. So because if your energy is vibrating, they're more attracted to you because of the energy. So I had. It's
a good simple way of putting it. That makes sense.
Bees were following me, and like I said, I don't know if Oshun was just following me, but them bees, they were all around me until I learned how to talk to them. I really had to realize it's my energy. So instead of being fear and reacting that way, which makes them attack, I had to become one with them. Wow. So a lot of times I would have to command my space and say, okay, you're in my personal space. I love you. I need you to step away. So, between that, the most, to me, I say traumatic was the thing with the slugs.
I knew she was going to say that about this slug.
Slugs.
She like that slug.
I didn't know the slugs crawl on people. You just see them on the ground.
I didn't know that
until they started appearing. And one time I was outside, it was crawling up my leg. I didn't even know it was on my leg.
A slug.
I was like, how did it get there? How did I not feel it? So that was one time. The next night I went outside, and my sister said, there's a slug crawling up the chair. Okay, that was one time. Then another time, one just appeared in the middle of the sidewalk. We had been sitting there the whole night. As slow as they move, how did we not see this slug appear? So I had to go research on what the spiritual symbolism of a slug, and it says it's a shaman's best friend. And it is a symbol of spiritual enlightenment and expansion into a new level of healing.
Whoa. You ain't know that, did you?
So once when I saw the next slug, a couple of nights later, I acknowledged it. I said, I see you. I get the message. After that, I never saw any more slugs.
Wow.
My God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's becoming one, nature.
Told you
nature
going to like this
to
one.
you.
Oh, yeah. I had no doubt I was.
Yeah, nature talks to you. So I always, everything, if I see certain insects, I had a dragonfly literally going up 77. I didn't even know they can fly that fast. Followed me all the way up the highway.
A dragonfly?
A dragonfly by my window, yes.
Wait a minute.
Wow.
Moving with you.
Moving with me because I was hearing this flapping, and I'm like, what is it in my car? And when I looked to the side, I could actually hear the wings. And it was literally the dragonfly, and it didn't go away until I got off the exit.
He was your escort.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Yeah,
he was an escort off the highway.
Yeah, so
I like
pay
that.
attention to it all now. So definitely. Now, I just recently had a lizard in my bathroom, so I had to go back and why is this not just one of them small little guys. This was like a nice sized lizard. So
they quick too.
Quick, and I said, okay, what is the meaning of that? And it said, slow down. And that day I was rushing and hectic, and it said when a lizard appears, it means to slow down.
I'm in the presence of a real life shaman. Check that out.
I told
Check
you,
that out.
Craig. I told you, Craig.
Check that out. I like this.
Yeah.
Look, that's good.
I'm
That's good
enjoying
information.
But and that's where I would say I didn't recognize the shaman energy in me until I went through the attunement. That's why I said it really helps you connect with what your purpose is. So now I know any of my students that come to me, whether it's students for Reiki or my clients for therapy, I realize what my spiritual purpose is. And part of that is to help people see who they are so they can go out there and help heal others. And that's what this shift is about, for us to clear all this, to stop getting distracted. We're here for a spiritual purpose. Get your stuff together so you can go do your work. So I know I don't market my services. People find me. And that's how I know what the universe is sending me to help others to expand, to do their work, to help find their.
So that's truly organic, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she'll market. See, it's coming.
That's it.
Right. See, like I mentioned earlier, she was a beacon. And, of course, in the Kemetic language, you got the word Pir-Aya, which translates to the English word pharaoh. And it literally translates as great house. That's what this is in our presence right now.
Yes, so it is.
That's what's up, man.
Also, your affinity with bees that you mentioned earlier, that's one of the symbols for kingship in the Kemetic Medunecha. Beti. You have the Nasut Biti. Nasut would be the kings of the south, the Biti, the kings of the north. For those that unify the north and southern parts of the country, they were called the Nasut Biti. And the reason that the bee was used as a symbol is because of his organizational ability.
to lead.
Exactly.
Yes,
You got the queen bee, and you got all the worker bees, and you got the soldiers, and so on and so forth. Organization, the way our kingdom should be set up, the way government should be set up. So I kind of peeped that in you as well as you were speaking. So yeah.
Thank you for
I
saying
told
that.
you she's
Absolutely.
the leader of the
Thank you for
goddess
saying
gang.
that.
Absolutely.
I
The
told
goddess
you, it's a gang out there.
Yeah.
It's a
She's
tribe of us.
It's a tribe.
It is a
I'm
tribe.
telling you what I know, yo.
We deep.
No,
It's the
I
goddess
know
gang. I played the song last week by Rock.
Right.
Because I only play conscious music on this show.
Right.
And that's why I'm telling you, the goddess gang.
Yes.
Had no reason to doubt.
We need them.
Mm-hmm.
Peace.
That's what's good.
Next, what's the next question?
All right. Now as far as healing,
Yes.
what would you say to people that were like interested in wanting to do Reiki? Like, what would be the actual benefits? Not just physical, but you mentioned like trauma. Like if you were molestation or like rape or something real traumatic.
Yes.
You saying that can actually help clear those traumas as well?
Yes, it is. And like I said, and that all the service that I provide, one thing that I always say is what worked for me. I didn't even step into offering a lot of this as a professional service because starting out, Reiki is really for self-healing.
Right.
You know how we've heard of wounded healers. There's a lot of healers out there that's healing but haven't done the work to really promote a lot of healing. So in this aspect, it starts with self-healing. And from there, I can just say from my personal experiences, it causes you to live life not from a participant, which is more the ego. You know, that's like, oh, how this person did to me. I can't believe they did this, and the world is this, to living life as an observer. So now it's like I pull myself out of and really look at the situation. So when people may do wrong to you, it's not necessarily like, oh, I can't believe they did it. It's more like, ooh, they're wounded. They've had some things they haven't healed from. So it's more of a place of compassion and working with them than the ego. I don't want to talk to them. I can't believe they did that. So what recently I said has been interesting, because when I first started this journey back in 2009, of course, it was like, what you into? What you into hoodoo, voodoo stuff? What is all of that? You know, everybody, and my brother, he's straight Rasta at first, he was like, I ain't into all that, sis, until he was passing kidney stones.
We talking about Jay?
Yeah, Sean.
Okay.
You haven't met Sean. Yeah,
Okay.
He was passing kidney stones, and I had just got attuned to do Reiki, so I'm still trying to get an understanding of what it does. And my brother's 6'4", in pain. I knew I couldn't get him down these steps to get him to the hospital, so it's like, do the energy work. I laid hands on him for about 30 seconds. He passed out. At first, I was scared, like, what did I do? He came back to, no issues with pain, nothing. Never had issues with kidney stones from that point on. Mind you to say, my whole family now is attuned to do Reiki.
I was getting ready to ask her about that so she can tell you about that. The
All
whole
of them.
family.
My mom, it's helped my mom with multiple sclerosis. She has MS, so it's helped her energy level. My dad in surgeries, we were all right. It helps restore the body after surgery. So after surgeries, we all would come in, lay hands on him. And I think my dad, he went back to his follow-up after his hip replacement within a week. And they're like, why are you walking in here, Mr. Sims? Most people come back in a wheelchair. So it helps promote healing, physical healing. Also, and a lot of the physical issues we deal with comes from mental blockages or energetic blockages. So by the time we're feeling in our bodies, it's gone through different layers before it manifests in the body. Our body is the densest part. So that's why things can get trapped. So a lot of times, in order to heal the physical issues, I have to go deal with the psychological, your thought pattern.
Right.
You know, what are you holding on to? So Reiki helps clear. It helps with mental clarity, ADHD clients. It kind of like just pulls out the unnecessary monkey chatter and leaves you what you need to be focusing on. If you're holding grief and, lack of love, it opens up that heart chakra. All of that. It just helps get everything back working in order to process things. Because I say we have that connection with the world all the time with taking in information from our senses. So depending on how our chakra centers are operating will depend on how we put it back out.
Right.
So once it's clear, you see the world, you process things. So a lot of those things you think the world is being unjust, you will come to realize like, oh, it was me. It was how I was processing things. So it works with dealing with the inner child. You know, a lot of things we live the world based upon the hurt we saw as a child, whether our mom didn't do this or our dad didn't do this and that type of thing. And so we grow up still having those expectations as children. So it does help reduce the symptoms of trauma. It helps with addiction. It really helps. You know, most addictions, that deals within the solar plexus chakra. That's your confidence. And most people tend to, nobody goes into a substance or behaviors to think they're going to get addicted. It's the willpower. You know, I can do this and not get addicted. But not realizing when you don't have that control over it, that's when it causes those blockages. So most addictions is giving you a false sense of fulfillment. So with the energy work, it helps get to the core of what is that feeling that originally caused you to go into the addiction. And I'll just use an example like smoking cigarettes. It's a difference. Like the developmental age for the solar plexus chakra is around age 12 to 17. That's a rough time for many. That's middle school. That's when, you know, everybody plays together up until 5th grade. Middle school, you have your cliques, so who you identify with. So if you're not secure about yourself, you can end up in peer pressure, trying to associate, trying to identify, or you can be extremely confident. So compared to one person, I always use an example in college. It was told, oh, you know, smoke a Newport with a beer and you get a buzz. So it was more that recreational, trying to figure out what it was. And I'm like, okay, I don't like this. Compared to that person at 13, 14, or 15 that's stressed out and they hit that cigarette butt, boom, they gone. Because then it becomes their blanket. So it's a lot deeper in helping them to deal with the addiction because that cigarette has become their falsehood of security. So the Reiki helps to go back to find out what started that. What were you going through at that time? Where did you lack that confidence or that support to then wean off your attraction to this substance? It's a false sense of attraction. So it helps you to look at self more to understand what the root issue
So it's like etymology when we do our etymology.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's going back to the path.
Right.
Going back to the source.
To find out where this started.
Because in, you know, traditional meds and, healing, they're just treating the symptoms.
No doubt.
The masking the symptoms, and you never get to the root cause. And that was why I wanted to I just recently began to incorporate it into therapy practice. For a minute, I was thinking, nobody's going to get this. Nobody's going to understand this. And I had to be spiritually obedient to, you know, go ahead and do this. And I think that since the last time I spoke with you, I left Johnson C. Smith. I just said, I'm out and I'm going to do this full time. That was in January. I'm full. My pride can't, because the universe, now that I'm in position, is sending me these people that need this healing.
Yeah, we clapping for that, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We got to clap for that.
Yeah, I stepped out there on faith and was spiritually obedient. So now the trauma aspect, I always tell people, you shouldn't have to go to therapy for a year or 2 years. That something's not working. It either means you're not doing the work or the therapist is not really getting to the root issue. It becomes a codependent relationship if you have to really see a therapist 1 or 2 years. This approach, incorporating it with psychotherapy, I would say within 4 or 5 months, I'm seeing immediate turnaround of the clients. And what I'm doing, I always say, I'm not healing you. I'm helping you bring out the healer in yourself so that you don't become dependent. I don't want the responsibility that you can't function unless you talk to me.
Right.
Or
That's a huge
I don't
responsibility.
want that. And that's how our world has been set up. Whatever the teacher say, whatever the good old doctor say, whatever the pastor say.
So you don't trust yourself.
Right.
You don't,
that third eye.
You don't know yourself. And that's what this show is about, knowledge yourself.
Know yourself.
You don't know yourself. You got to get to know yourself. You got to get to know what works
and
for you.
that's what causes the depression, because you're acting upon what the world, everybody else say you should do instead of what makes sense to you. So you go against your spirit, and then that's what causes the conflict in your life. It's not the world. It's not people trying to do you wrong. You're really only doing yourself wrong because you're not listening to yourself. But
Psychosis.
Yeah.
Asha, can you see that psychosis when you deal with people on a daily basis? When you we can see stuff, right? Us in this room, we can see stuff,
Right.
and others can't see it. Ecclesiastes 1:18, right? Those who have knowledge have great sorrow. So we doing the shaking my head thing often. Not that we so much higher than other people. However, can you see those layers? Can you see the as the great Eckhart Tolle says, when you edify something on the outside of you as a sense of identity, you lost. So we did. If a lot of people, a person on the outside of them is this. A thing on the outside of them is that. Sometimes when you do therapy, when you deal with people, can you see quickly that, that what they're holding on to is.
Oh, and that was something that, it goes back to understanding your spiritual purpose, understanding your spiritual gifts. So with me already understanding I'm an empath, most of the times when I come in contact with people, I can sense or feel what is going on with you. And I think as a therapist, that helps me connect with my clients so I don't have to go through all the layers. Because a lot of times, people come to therapy and they tell you what they think you want to hear. And it's all superficial and you got to go through all these layers to get to the core of the issue. I can go right in. And how I started out, I don't even care about past diagnosis. I have a checklist of physical symptoms. Lower back pain, what are you going through? And that lets me know which energy center is blocked. So I'm like, lower back pain, poor circulation, aches of the knees, root chakra. Have you gone through life adjustments, financial issues, divorce or something? And they look at me like, how'd you know? The body doesn't lie.
Body don't lie. You hear
the
that?
body doesn't lie. So that way I would know, let's go either to that early developmental age or birth to 5 or 6 and see what may have happened during that time or what currently is happening in your life that you don't feel supported, that you're able to provide your basic needs. That root chakra is your basic needs of survival.
You know what that root chakra is, right?
That's reptilian right there, bro.
You know where that's located at, right?
Oh, yeah, that's below the sexual center.
The lower part of the back.
Now, I was going to ask you, men, is there a symptom or something that you see often when it comes to when you work with men versus women, and what is it?
Yes, I'm glad you asked me that. So
she glad I'm asked.
Yes, and especially
I'm smart,
for
man.
our African American
I have no doubt.
men.
I have no doubt.
See, you there with me. So one thing that I'm saying, even going back to issues like cancer, cancer cells thrive in all of us, depending on our immune system and our health. How we deal with stress, whether they become activated. Of course, what medical practitioners don't tell you that cancer cannot thrive where there's oxygen.
Right.
It can't thrive.
Right.
So when that area, where you hold stress or where that chakra center is blocked, oxygen is not flowing in there, so it can manifest into physical ailments. And that's a place where cancer, like, ooh, I'm going to get here and thrive. So even when I have clients come with cancer, I ask what type, where it is, and that helps me know which energy center may be blocked. So going back to working with the males recently, root chakra, the prostate is in the root chakra. Most African American males are in a state of survival and proving themselves and how to maintain in the world. So it only makes sense that they have more high incidences of prostate cancer than other cultures because they're fighting for their sense of survival. So that's where that energy gets stuck at that can bring forth the prostate cancer.
Wow. That makes sense.
It does.
And then we're dealing with the women with so many issues. And, I do a lot of work with women and the guidance to help with sexual awareness and understanding the sacred sex. But because we live in a society, there's so much shame. And then we have so many women that are dealing with the molestation and the rape. And so that causes blockages in the reproductive area for women. So now part of society, part of this, I'm so tired of women having to get hysterectomies. I mean, that's the next, take it out. Take the womb out, but you're still not realizing that even if you take that out, your mind and what the other things, the energy is, it's no different than a person having a leg amputated. They
Right.
still have that sensation. So even though that wound has been taken out, it's going to go to another organ in that area. So it goes back to the healing of that. So that's another area that I work with a lot of women to help heal their traumas of that. As well, but it coincides because a lot of the abuse from men that are inflicting, it's not just men, being abused now, but it still goes back to that repressed sexual energy that becomes a sexual deviation. And so a lot of times when men are stressed, they want to have sex, but it goes into that primitive form, not for the sacredness and manifestation, is that release, that primal. And so when you're suppressing something or you're feeling inferior to whatever issues, it causes that aggression. And so it's playing off. So now women are taking this aggressive sexual energy into their wombs, and it's causing health issues. So that's a whole nother topic.
That's a hell of
a
a
sexual
that's
energy.
transmutation right there.
Right,
now see,
right.
I always knew that. I don't know why. I didn't know how to translate it, but I always knew when I felt like I got to go choke somebody out. Don't laugh. I know you over there watching. When I felt like that, I felt something wrong with me. I knew there's something I had allowed to shape me or mold me or some kind of psychosis, if you will. I knew that. I just didn't know the words to put it in, but I knew that. But see, that's a good point. Now you go and you have this relationship with someone and you putting that energy, it's transfer into her. Man, I don't know what to do with that.
Right. And that's where the beauty of even how Reiki and sexual energy and how it heals, because just as well with Reiki, if you can lay hands on people to heal, the act of sexual exchange, even for women, if you're having a man enter you, that's healing. Or vice versa, a man entering a woman, if you attune to Reiki, it's a healing exchange. And see, that's the whole thing of us having to reprogram what sexual energy is, not just a thing for recreation, but it's really a healing practice. So including Reiki in conjunction with that can also shift a lot of things as well. So it's like all the things they told us not to do or we shouldn't do or shun, I always say that's what we need to be studying.
Absolutely.
No
That's
doubt.
what we need to be studying.
Absolutely.
I want to shift real quick. I want to go over to yoga, your yoga practice. Because I got a question. Shep, you brought something up. Maybe you could say it better than me, but you brought something up about the Eastern understanding and origin of what yoga was for and to the verses of how it's being used here in the West. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Well, over here, yoga is mostly centered around health and wellness, which in the Eastern standpoint, first of all, yoga is really pronounced yuja, I found out. And this is from a lady that grew up in India herself. It's pronounced yuja, and it means union, to yoke. All right, now, in that context, they're saying being yoked to universal divine forces, where you call them gods, God, singular, whatever. That's the true meaning of yoga itself. Now, as a side effect on that path, it facilitates healing. You see, whereas over here in the West, the main focus is the healing itself, the side effect. But the real goal itself is to be one with God, to be God. So, of course, like when in the Bible, Jesus says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all these things be added to you. That, I mean, in the proper context, that's what he's talking about.
It sounds like you're saying in the East, it is predicated to reach spiritual enlightenment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which might mean hold a pose for what? Hours?
Yes.
And here, it's about what? I feel better. I stretch real well.
Yes.
I meditated kind of.
I'm more flexible. I don't have as much tension.
What you got to
in my
say about
muscles.
that? Because I had to draw this question
Yeah.
out because I didn't know how to say it the way he said it.
Well, like you said, the difference in the Western and Eastern, one thing is really what Westerns get into is that whole physical, the body aspect. Really, yoga, 90% of yoga is not even about the poses.
Nope.
It's a lifestyle. It's about the mindset. We have taken that piece, just like we do with the medicines. You take a piece of something and then you capitalize off of it. And that's what the Western approach have done, is just the whole physical aspect. But yoga is really breath work. It's really becoming united with yourself as one. The poses help connect all, but yoga doesn't even have to include the physical poses or what we call asanas. So it's a lot deeper. It's a lifestyle. It's not just a practice. It's a lifestyle of becoming one with yourself, which will entail you to become one with others, because we are all connected. So it's a different thought process.
Absolutely.
Is there some part of your practice that's bigger? You do a lot of different things. Is there something that people come to you mostly for, or is there something that is outstanding? And then, by the way, I do this, this, and this.
I'm eclectic, and that's why I tell people when they come, I say, I'm not your average therapist. First, understand that. I'm not a traditional therapist. So my approach is I want to let them know the different tools that they have options. So instead of me telling them what they need to do, I put the healing in them. So sometimes you may want to come and just talk. You just got to vent. Then we can do traditional talk therapy. One day that person may come in and they're stressed, they don't want to talk. Then we can do the energy work to help process things. Some days it's the tension in their body. So then we may incorporate the breath work, being mindful of where you're holding your stress, progressive relaxation, and teach some yoga poses to help reduce the stress in your body. Right. So I incorporate all of those modalities in one, but more or less allowing the client to guide me on how I can help them instead of me saying this is what you need to do. So it's giving them options. So often we don't feel we have choices. You go to the doctor, they say do this, and you're like, okay. My approach is, no, I need you to tell me what you need. I want you to take back power of yourself and not give your power away to people. So I'm just offering a variety of tools that they can use. You know, I also do hypnotherapy too. So sometimes
tell us a little bit about the hypnotherapy.
Hypnotherapy.
We like that, don't we?
Yeah.
Why do we like that?
Covert hypnosis.
Why do we like
We're under it already.
Right.
No doubt.
Radio
Good
programs,
point.
TV programs.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
But it ain't for us. It ain't for us
it ain't
for
for
real
us.
healing.
Yeah.
So
It's to help the reprogramming of the mind. All of this goes back to reprogramming. And this is where the psychosis and everything, especially for us as a culture, because the things we've been programmed is not in our genetic code. So it's making us crazy because this ain't what we were supposed to be focusing on. So even with the hypnosis, it's going into that subconscious state to find out where the blocks and where the locks are, to change them around and bring it back to the conscious in a healthy way, instead of you reacting to these programs, the fear that's out there. A lot of, and people think, oh, I'm doing bad. I have so many people say, oh, I'm doing bad because I don't have this money in my account. And I'm like, have you been late on your bills, your car payment, you're here, you're doing this? And they're like, I said, so you're rich. Why are you getting caught up in this concept of money being what makes you wealthy? And I said, if you're being provided for, you're wealthy. So it goes back to that programming that I got to have this in order to be successful or to feel affluent, when richness is a spiritual aspect of things. So if your basic needs are being met, then you're good. So it's a lot of times I do hypnosis to help the reprogramming of money, bringing it forth, because often if you lower your own personal value, laws of attraction, you're not going to get what you want because you don't even see the value in yourself. So sometimes I have to go back and do that cognitive restructuring of the positive affirmations for them to see who they are. Then that's what radiates, that's what draws people to you, of how you market yourself. And I always use an example of, there's a sister here that does tarot readings, and she's charging like $200 for a tarot card reading. At first in my mindset, I'm like, I can get my cards with $15 or less. I'm going to pay $200. So then I had to check myself. I said, you know what? If she feels her services are worth $200,
no doubt,
that makes other people say, well, what's she doing?
Right.
That this person's not. It must be something. And it may not be any more different. But if she feels it and promotes it, then other people, is that psychological problem, like, oh, well, it must be better than this because it's $200. So it all goes back to your program and how you view it. So with hypnosis, it helps to go back, what is your attachment to food? What is your attachment to cigarettes? Your weight gain may not, people I've had got the surgeries, the bypass, and still gaining. Because we ain't got to the root issue of why you even started.
It's always a root issue.
Yeah.
And for the spooky people, we like to break things down just a little bit, because a lot of us have the tendency to get spooky and religion and things like that. So not that you market it, but when a person comes to you, do they already know they want, do they see hypnotherapy as reprogramming? Is there other words that could be changed to make, because everything in the world, particularly in America, everything's about language. And people are hooked on certain language that makes them feel better.
Yeah.
So for me, hypnotherapy, we clapping, right? I hit the clap button on that. But for other people who's spooky,
it can scare them.
Oh my God! Is my soul gonna be all right?
Or you gonna have me clucking like a chicken? I'm like, that is not what it's about. You gonna have me doing crazy? I'm like, no, it's not that. But it is the wording and even like with Reiki, people ask me, I have to meet people where they are when I even explain it, So if I'm talking to other health practitioners, I would say Reiki. If I'm still talking to those that's really still in the church and caught up in that aspect, I say it's a form of laying of hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to use the wording or common everyday people. I say it's a form of energy work. Everybody understands energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be aware so I don't spook people or scare people because, in our culture, is it Reiki? That's a whole nother word. I don't even understand what it is. I don't need to have anything to do with it. So I do have people even come and say, is this going to affect my salvation?
Right.
And
that's
like,
what I meant.
I'm not
that's the
trying
spooky
to do
people.
anything that's going to affect. I said, because that affects me. If I'm causing you to mess up your salvation, that's going to affect me. So I was like, it has nothing to do with that. So once I break it down, it's easier. But what I'm finding, like I said, is being in position because the clients that are coming to me, I'm not having to explain to them this stuff. They're like, I've been looking for someone like you.
That's perfect.
That's it.
That's good. Now, I think you had a question about that was along those lines.
Does Reiki lead to enlightenment? Can it be as used as a spiritual path towards that?
Yes, because, again, understanding spirit flows through us. We are the spirit. We are the gods and goddesses. So we've been programmed that we put that power out in others. So for me, I can say, like, when I first got attuned, I grew up in the Presbyterian church. That's the bougies, the black Presbyterian, a little bougie. So, my whole viewpoint of things, was taking me out my comfort zone. But when I got attuned, the first thing I wanted to do was understanding what universal law and love was. And I went and studied all the systems of religions. And then when I realized just like 7 chakras, there's 7 primary religious systems. And it made me realize they're just different paths to lead to enlightenment.
Hence the book, 7 Masters, 1 Path.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So now my approach is, and I have clients say, are you a Christian? And I just say, I'm eclectic. I believe in all. I take a little bit from this culture, a little bit from this culture, a little bit from this culture, to put into it. So I'm more in tune with all my clients, whatever their religious background is. But at the end of the day, it's not even about the religion. It's about spiritually what you're getting to gain. And from this, it's going to cause enlightenment because you have to listen to yourself. And once that third eye opens up, which is your internal GPS system, that's God's way of communicating with you.
Yes.
And, I always say, just as well as that pastor goes and meditate to get the word for the service, you can go in your own room and get the same message.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have a third party to guide you. You have the knowledge. So from that, it allows you to trust yourself more, to listen to spirit, and that's how you grow from there.
Now, Shep.
Okay.
I think I never told you my Reiki experience.
Tell me about it.
Would you like to hear it? I'm glad you asked.
Want to hear it? Here it go.
Here we go. I met Asha through a friend, and I was like always interested in this Reiki, and I always interested in that, growing, getting more enlightened, getting that power that is me, and allowing, the art of allowing. Esther Hicks calls it the art of allowing. So, I met Asha. I went through Reiki 1, trying to get my schedule together so I can finish, and I got attuned, my attunement, right? So when the sister lay her hands on my shoulder, right? Now, it wasn't Asha. She had trained another master.
Okay.
When the sister laid her hands on my shoulder, I was in a meditative state. Ty, you over there listening. He over there listening. Y'all can't see him. But look, this, like a doorway, this bright light, white, said, whew, it was sick. It was quick. And right behind it was my favorite color, royal blue.
Okay.
I said to myself, self, that's how I talk to myself. I said, what is that? And then, after it was over with, about an hour later, I get a real live full Reiki session. It was amazing. Asha, my throat chakra was closed up, locked up, in prison, 23-hour lockdown, shoe program. Right. Playing basketball in Pelican Bay, my stuff was locked up, like right in jail. And, when she told me the precepts of what it really meant, and I wasn't being, speaking right and proper and my truth. As soon as she said that, I knew exactly who it was about. My source knew exactly what that was about and who it was about and who I've been like biting my tongue on.
Right.
But that ain't me. I'm a Alpha Gemini. I'm usually talking shit. So that's when I knew that the power of my source an hour and a half earlier when I got my attunement was telling me what the problem was. Whoa, you remember that?
Listen, yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, so
it unlocks and you just have that power back.
So I need everybody who listen to know that this is not just someone who's on here teaching you something, new modalities. I actually am involved in that, and it's amazing. So we need to understand that these things, and there's other things, there are other forces, there are other ways for us to get to the place we need to get. Because right now, what's going on in the world is a awakening. Last July, South Africa kicked all the other people out, gave them a certain date. They're taking all their land back. It's a lot going on. We live in a land right now that has 12 years, 0 birth rates for Anglo-Saxon people. We got a president who knows that by 2028, it's not going to be a whole lot of folks here that look like him.
Right.
So make America great again, huh?
We got to get ready for what it is that we're supposed to do.
Yes.
And that's one of the things this is a show about. Asha provides an opportunity to help people, find out where they playing left field, or you play right field. Are you a healer? You a motivational encourager? What do you do? Are you a medicine person? You a shaman? Right. Let's get this out. We got to throw away the old way of thinking so that we can manifest what's already there that you already know, but you don't know. Right. So, anyway, what other question?
Sound like that Harold Melvin and the Blue Note song.
What was that? What song was that?
You say, wake up, all you teachers trying to teach a new way.
Yes.
Maybe then they'll listen to what you got to say.
That's it.
Because we got some strange fruit hanging. And that is us.
Yes.
And we tired of it. We just trying to find better ways to make these things happen for ourselves. Asha, listen, tell us something. What you got going on? What's new? What's coming?
Oh, wow. What's coming? A lot. Wanting to get one thing that I'm really wanting to focus on now. I have like over 100 Reiki students. So my thing is, like we're talking about, is formation, being in formation. So one of the most important things that I'm seeing now that needs to be done, we as adults in this time of going through this DNA shift and this enlightenment, we're getting it together. These babies are coming in ready. They don't have to be reprogrammed. They are connected to source. So wanting to do more to help the babies come, because they're going to be the ones that's going to change the world, the next generation. So what's the point of learning all this if we're not giving it back to them so they don't have to go through it? So having more classes. I even want to start doing Reiki classes for the younger ones. I mean, you've met my son.
Amazing. I'm glad she mentioned it.
Yes, at 8 years, he got his business, the Chakra Boy.
The boy code.
Yeah.
The boy code.
Yes.
The boy don't have a business.
The boy stole some money off of me for lemonade. I'm just saying.
Wow.
But he's a little version of her.
Yeah.
He talks like her. That's what she means. They ready.
Yeah.
Right.
Real quick, we got a friend that we have that we are friends with together, and he had just told us about a child who, how old was his kid?
8 years old.
8 years old. Say he came here to be a astro scientist.
No, it
was
was
that
it was in that field, but it was basically studying portals.
Portal
Yes.
scientist.
Yeah,
Yes,
like
yes.
with wormholes.
Yes.
But 8 years old.
They understand it. I just did a session with a young man. The mother brought her son. He was having behavior issues, 9 years old. And when we were talking, his thing was, he said, I don't understand. Where I come from, we don't deal with all this. Mama, why do we have skin? Where I come from, this is not. And so he was going through a healing crisis in a hospital for this rare infection. But a lot of it, I said, he's trying to integrate. And this is where we have to be careful, because these new beings are coming in. They're like, what is this? I don't know how to adapt in this world. And so if their bodies are not able to integrate, it can cause health problems. So with him, it was more or less, I had to hear where he was coming from. And that's why I realized my gift is I hear their language. So we can have that conversation about portals and the energetic frequencies, and they're seeing things. They can see things. They see the orbs, and they can tell me, oh, that's such and such. Did you see this? So many of us had that knowledge, but we were told not to talk about it. You don't see anything. Don't tell nobody about it. So our gifts were shut down.
Right.
My thing is let's open them up. They will be the ones that being able to levitate. We may not get it because we still stuck in our programming, but they may be the ones that may be able to levitate. My son's talking about telekinesis and stuff. He sits there and looks at things and try to bend them. And I said, keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
But you know what? Freshman year in high school, physical science class, we had an experiment that we did. We had a pendulum in front of us, and we were focused on it. And I'll be damned if it didn't jump. And I was like, what's... They were like, yeah.
What's energy?
And this was,
I use that to do assessments. I can hold the pendulum to see how your chakras are spinning. And you know, and I have my son play with it, you know, to trust his intuition. I was saying don't get too dependent on it, because then you don't always want to use a tool to be dependent on it, but it helps you to understand the power of the unknown.
I'm glad you brought that up, because you can ask I ask my pendulum questions, and they can answer questions. It's a lot going on that we need, because we were told to be scared of that.
Right.
That's a lie.
And
That's the devil.
Devil's word.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything that came from Africa, we were told to fear. And that's one of the many things that came out of Africa. Go figure.
Astrology.
The Bible says to fear this. It's like, well, why?
Yeah, we gotta do better, and that's what we come here to do.
Soothsayers. Soothsayer just means truth sayer. If you break down the root word, sooth is the German word for truth.
Right.
So, are you supposed people that proselytize religion, aren't they soothsayers in their own right? Is that condemned in their own book? I mean, come on, people. Right. Therein lies the truth. Therein lies you will find the truth. Come on, man.
You had a question on here, or still have a question on here. I wanted to ask as one of the final questions about touch. You know, because when you wrote the question, I realized what you was you know, getting at, and he basically want to know is, does a person always have to be touched, or is it hands off at times? Is certain times it's hands on?
Well,
we talking about Reiki, folks.
Yeah, we have to, in the aspect of the state of North Carolina, with touching the body, you know, they have certain legal things that if you're not licensed as a massage therapist, you're not actually supposed to touch. Well, I went around that and became an ordained minister, because if you're a minister, you can lay hands. So that was another way that I did to get over that legal hold in regards to that. But as far as touch, it can go two ways. You know, with many people that have dealt with trauma, touching and you laying there with your eyes closed can trigger. So I always have to make sure I assess with traumas, and even before I start, I say, this is where I'm laying hands. Is this okay? Is this comfortable for you? And even yet, and still I've come to realize in boundaries with people that have been molested or abused, they may say yes, because they haven't exercised that throat chakra, but laying there totally uncomfortable with it, but thinking this is what's supposed to happen, so I'm going to go along with it. And that's how you get re-traumatized. So I still have to be aware of their facial expressions and realize this is not uncomfortable. Like if I'm around the neck and I see them tightening up, I'll just open my hands so I'm not so close, because I don't know if their trauma was they got choked. So I have to be aware, and also intuitively as the healer, to know when to lessen up. So some of my clients, you can hold your hands 3 to 5 inches above them, because I understand energy. Because you can do distant, level 2, when you get to that's distant healing. You can send the same healing. I've done sessions on people and have them lay down, and I'm at home, and they're still getting the same responses from it. Because nothing holds energy. Energy flows with it, and there's no such thing as time.
That's what we're talking
Absolutely.
about. You hear what she said?
So,
there's no such thing as time.
It is an illusion.
Ask a dog what time it is.
Einstein
See
said
what he
that.
said.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I'm about to eat your ass up right now.
Yeah, so it just depends on the person. But even going back, we were having a conversation that it's a lot of people that are touch deprived that don't have that. So it's also soothing for me. So it's many times when I get to that heart chakra and people bust out crying.
Right.
And so, you know, even from that, it led me to even understand the nurturing, and which even led me to even studying more about Tantra and going through the Tantra certification.
I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and do it. We got 1 minute.
1 minute.
Let's go ahead and do it. We got 1 minute for that topic.
And that's a beautiful thing, because if people Western, y'all automatically think it's about sex.
Right.
And it's about the intimacy and
connection.
understanding that connection that is what many couples and even really African American couples are lacking. The thing that brings us together, that passion, that heat initially, it goes this way because of life, and you don't know how to reconnect. So the longer you go without sex, you lose that connection because life gets in the way. So Tantra is more or less, and even for men, it helps with erectile dysfunction, because a lot of times the ED is coming from past traumas that haven't been resolved. And so it gets stuck, those toxins get stuck in the prostate. So Tantra can help get that energy moving, but more or less to bring that energy from the lower chakras and that sexual to the heart. Is elevating it instead of keeping it stuck in the lustful state, is bringing it up to the heart. And which is why I started doing the melanated men, is because men, with these new energies, the feminine energy coming through, and it's affecting the heart. We don't go from here. Men are taught to think here. We have to start thinking from here, which makes a lot of men uncomfortable. So a lot of that sexual energy is stuck in the lower chakras and not from the heart chakra. So Tantra is helping, and even in that work, as a woman, I have to embody whatever that entity that man may need, which if they need a nurture, I may have to have that mother, which may just be holding someone. It's not sex, but just to hold, because a lot of men didn't have that mother to do that. And so whatever it is, I have to embody that energy to help them in that healing process.
Is that a place to visit, or because, we both work in these realms. I work with trauma children. They're children, but what about when we're adults and you didn't get them hugs? Is it a place to visit, or does this man who's 40 need this for about a month?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they just, you'll be surprised at how many. We were just talking about the lady that has the cuddling service that is making all this money just cuddling people.
Yes,
no
I heard
sex
about
involved,
that.
But it's
you
a
didn't
lot
see
of
that?
men.
No, I didn't see that one.
She just cuddles them. So it's a lot of men that haven't got that nurture, because you're in this world, I got to be strong, I got to do this. But regardless, everybody needs to be nurtured. And so you have a lot of marriages where people are not getting nurtured, and that's what causes them to go elsewhere or step out. You know, they love that person, but they ain't getting
Or
nurtured.
men and marry want a mama.
That too, mama issue, because the mama hadn't been there. Yeah, so it still goes back to that root issue, which does play out in relationships and sexual, how you process sexual awareness based upon that initial upbringing and stuff. So.
Asha, we at the end of the show. Can you tell us? I know you're gonna say that.
Come on, man.
Can you tell us, where we can find you?
All right.
Is there workshops, classes coming up? What do we got to do?
Go to my website at www.Ashakti Wellness, ASHAKTI Wellness. I have a Reiki training coming up June 15th and 16th. I offer them every other month. But you can check out my yoga classes. I actually have a yoga class that I incorporate restorative yoga with energy work and aromatherapy. So it's another way to help relax. I'm trying to get more men involved. That's why we got to get back to help find a location to do melanated men and metaphysics.
Yes, I love that. You will like that, yo.
I'm having the men, and they're thinking it's no one else in the community that they can talk to. And I'm like, oh, no, it's a tribe of y'all, too.
Look, the Goddess Gang put together. We got the Dr. Johnny what?
Moses.
Johnny Moses. What was the brother name? That was
Dr. Msube.
Was that the astrology guy?
He was Brother Jeffrey.
Man, astrology dude break everything down.
Yeah.
We got to get him on the show.
Yes, we just
listen.
need that location, so yeah.
Hey, listen, Asha, we glad that you came. You got anything else to say?
Not at all.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm here in Charlotte on Moorhead, 1200 East Moorhead Street. So
look, this is the Ma'at Ra Studios right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. James T. Ma'at Ra, that's Chef Shura. Of course, that's Shati Wellness, Asha Sims, who we just got through dealing with. Listen, people, we got to get it together. Remember, we got an email, which is Free Thinkers Forum. That's what this is, the Free Thinkers Forum. media@gmail.com. So hit us up. We need show ideas. We need, anybody that that you got an idea for us to get on this show. Last week, of course, we had, the Masonic Order. Had some good brothers in here breaking some stuff down. Before then, we had, we had the Moore Science Temple on here. Broke it down to who you really are. and what our rights should be here in this country for real. So we'll let y'all go. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate everybody, all the listeners. We getting a lot of repeat customers, listeners in Chicago, where I'm from.
That's love.
All right, everybody.
That's love.
Peace.
Peace.
And Black Power.
Shimmy and Matep.